getting out of debt, but also getting you wins. To start, let's go ahead and look at the snowball and avalanche debt payment strategies. Starting out with the snowball. So the snowball debt payment strategy is one that Dave Ramsey pushes a lot. And the idea is that you will line up all of your debts from the smallest one all the way to the biggest one. And the plan is to basically make minimum payments on all of your debts, but then take any extra money you have and go after the smallest debt first. And then once that one is removed, you go to the next smallest and you keep working your way up until you get to the biggest one at the end. And you'll take all the money that you have now freed up in your budget from the earlier debts, and you will then pour those payments essentially into the biggest one, helping pay it down faster. Now, the avalanche method is a little different. You're going to order, but you're not going to order based on debt size. Instead, you're going to order based on interest levels. So the smallest interest payment will be at the end, and the biggest interest payment will actually be at the front. So you're going to attack and pay down the biggest interest payment debt first and work your way till you get to the smallest interest payment debt last. And of course, you're making minimum payments on all the debts and attacking the one with the biggest interest. Now, both strategies will achieve debt freedom and manage to get to debt freedom in a fairly decent pace. Dave Ramsey often will say, you should be able to get out of debt within 18 months to 2 years if you are following his snowball method. The avalanche method would be kind of similar. You'd be paying it off more probably within 1.5 to 2 years if you were aggressive and stuck with the budgets and all the things you should be doing. The difference, though, between the two is that the snowball method is meant for people who need a win. It is more focused on human behavior than it is on mathematics. And here's what I mean by that. If you're attacking the smallest debt first, that may not necessarily be the debt that has the biggest interest payment. And remember, every dollar that goes toward interest is a dollar that's not helping you pay down debts. It is going straight to the pocket of the lender, and that's it. So if we're trying to pay off our debts quickly, the principal, we need to try to pay off those debts that have large interest payments. But in the snowball method, that's not really the focus. Yes, the focus is to get out of debt, but there's a twofold mission here. Getting out of debt, but also getting you wins. So you see, in human behavior, people need positive affirmation. They need those wins. If they can get a win, they will feel more willing to continue to push through difficult things. So paying off that first debt, your smallest debt, within, say, a month, gives you this idea that, hey, we might actually be able to do this. And then maybe your next smallest debt takes you only 2 months. And now you're looking back at 2 to 3 months and saying, I just knocked out 2 of my debt payments. Let's keep going. And you'll just keep going from there. So you see, it's that positive affirmation that I can achieve this. This is doable. And that keeps people going and hopefully finishing the program, all the debts that they need to do. So that is the snowball method. The avalanche method isn't really focused on human behavior. The avalanche method is focused purely on mathematics. It is about paying off your debt in the least amount of money given to interest as possible. Essentially, you're trying to reduce the amount of money that the lenders are making off of your payments. Now, this is great if you are somebody who's trying to save as much money as possible. The issue, though, is if your large interest payment debt, the first one you're attacking, happens to be, say, $10,000, $15,000, or $20,000, then it is going to take you a while before that debt is fully paid off, which over time you may get tired out of the discipline and hard work that is required to pay off that debt and then quit midway through because you're not seeing those wins. You're not seeing the positive affirmation of paying off the debt that you have. So when we compare these two methods, both of them are great. Both of them will get you to be debt-free. But if we're talking about which one sees the better completion rate, it's going to be the snowball method because, again, it is focused not only on getting out of debt, but also on human behavior and how to encourage people to stick with difficult things. The avalanche method does not consider human behavior. It is strictly considering the mathematics and how to pay off these debts, giving the least amount of interest money as possible, which is great in theory, but really hard in practice. Because like I said earlier, if you are trying to pay off those debts and you don't see any wins, and it takes you a year before that first debt in the lineup is finally paid off, you're probably going to gas out and give up before that first debt payment is ever paid off. And then where are you left with? You're left continuing to do what you had always done before you even began the avalanche method. So again, if you're considering getting out of debt and you're trying to consider what's the best method to do it, I would highly recommend the snowball method because you are more likely to complete that method compared to the avalanche. And it's not just me saying it or Dave Ramsey saying it. There are studies that have looked at both of these methods and have came to the same conclusion, that the snowball method is great for people who struggle with sticking with discipline, who struggle with making those budgets and staying within the margins and all that stuff. It's great because it encourages you to do the hard stuff and continue to push forward. So if you're trying to get out of debt, look at that snowball method. It's the one that's probably going to be best for you.